Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Abington Board of Selectmen's meeting of May 4th, 2020. If you can, I'd ask that you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. If not, we'll be right with you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Fortunately, I have a flag right across the street, one of my neighbors, so. Okay, so off we go. I'll introduce Acting Town Manager Scott Lambiase. Scott, today was your first day. I'd like to welcome you aboard. We'll let the other members congratulate you or whatever after you start, but just introduce yourself to the people in Abington that didn't get to see your interview, and go from there and be quick.
All right. Well, thank you for that introduction. My name's Scott Lambiase. I spent the last 15 years working for the town of Duxbury. It's a similar sized community. My jobs there included procurement and project management. I did building studies, built a police station, a fire station, we did bridge repair, road repair. I ran all the licensing and permitting departments, Board of Health, and we're responsible for things like liquor licenses and all sorts of different licenses, permits. We were the complaint department for the town. That was kind of fun. I hope to bring a lot of the experiences and knowledge that I gained over the years there and use them in the town of Abington, and looking forward to working with everybody and looking forward to getting to know the community. Mostly I'm looking forward to getting us through this current pandemic season and through the budget season and through a town meeting.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Just so everyone knows, Sue Moakman has joined us, just in case we need her for anything. We appreciate her attending our meeting. Thank you, Sue, for joining us. Anybody?
Scott, don't forget, you were on the Board of Selectmen in Whitman and on the Finance Committee too.
I'll never forget that. Thank you for pointing out. I was trying to be brief.
No, that's helpful. It's helpful.
I did. I spent 7 years on the Whitman Board of Selectmen, currently on the Finance Committee. And throughout that time, I was responsible. We hired a couple of police chiefs, and I negotiated several rounds of union contracts and several budget cycles. So I have quite a bit of experience there too.
If I could, Mr. Chairman.
You're going to anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, I will.
I know.
You guys didn't want me to come to the meetings, so no, I'm only kidding. So, Scott, would it be possible for you to somehow with Zoom or Facebook Live just to go on at some point to schedule the appointment so people in town, because they don't have the opportunity to come to town hall and meet you. You don't have the opportunity to go to the different departments and town events. So maybe it'd be a cool thing in the next week or two to set up something with Kevin. Whatever's easiest for you, but when maybe even what you could field questions from either a Facebook Live or something. I think it'd be kind of a neat thing for people to get to know where you. I mean, maybe it's too early to do that, but it'd be kind of neat because people can't go up there tomorrow and visit you. That's the problem.
No, absolutely. And, Kevin Tachi, he did reach out to me with basically the same idea. I think it's a great idea. I think, maybe late next week or early following, but we're definitely going to work on something. I'm eager to meet everybody too. I want to sort of meet everybody in town hall, and I met a lot of people today, and, everyone I met is great. We got a lot of good people there. So I'm looking forward to meeting the rest of them, but definitely Kevin and I are going to set up a series of things that we can do that I can be accessible to the public until we're ready to open up and they can actually come in.
Yeah, and I talked to Kevin, talked to you about that too, Ken. And I don't mind doing a Facebook Live and stuff. I want to be careful of people that are, calling in that, the people that might have comments that just aren't necessary, whatever, and hope we can screen those or something like that. And I know that the public has every right to call in and talk to the town managers if they get the chance, but I still want to be very careful about that. And if it gets to that situation, hopefully we can end that call or end that interview or whatever with that a certain person. I'm not saying who that will be, but I just want to be very careful of that. And especially Scott being new, I want him to be very careful of it too. So. Any other board members, comments or anything?
Oh, welcome, Scott.
Thank you.
Glad to have you, Scott.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard, Scott.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right, very good. All right, next on my agenda, where did my agenda go? Sorry. On your agenda too, is the announced retirement of Deputy Chief, Fire Chief Ron Howe, which I was very surprised, but next Thursday, May 7th, will be Deputy Ron Howe's last day. While we can't have the usual open house for him on his last day, we are hoping for an event later this summer to formally recognize his service to the fire department in the town of Abington. Below is a brief statement that we have recently shared regarding Ron's service. Please feel free to forward it. This is needed, and that was forwarded to us from Chief Nuttall. So Deputy Chief Ron Howe will be working his final shift at the Abington Fire Department on May 7th, 2020. Deputy Howe began his career as a call firefighter in July of 1979 as a third-generation firefighter, carrying on the family tradition since 1934. He was appointed as a full-time Abington firefighter on December 9th, 1984. He then became an emergency medical technician in 1985 and was the first member of the department to attend paramedic school while working full-time, becoming certified as a Massachusetts State paramedic in June of 2001. After putting in countless hours, days, and months of study, Ron was promoted to the position of fire captain in 2006, and later was promoted to deputy chief in September of 2015. He served as the department DFib coordinator, as an American Heart Association CPR instructor, and has been a certified car seat safety technician since 2006. Throughout his career, Ron has been an integral part of the department, overseeing the fire prevention office, as well as his longtime work helping the Abington Firefighters Local 2080 Scholarship Committee, being the chairperson for the Firefighters Memorial Sunday each year, organizing the multi-town tricentennial Firefighters Muster in 2012, as well as serving on many other committees. So I just wanted to get that out to the public. They didn't know that Ron retired. So when asked about his proudest moment during his career, his answer was, "Every day I put on the uniform." Ron's sense of humor and good nature is obvious to anyone that has ever met him, and he will be missed within the department. We wish Deputy Howe a long, healthy, and happy retirement with his wife Pam and daughters Victoria and Christina. Congratulations, Deputy Chief Ronald G. Howe, on your 35-plus years of dedicated service to the town of Abington. Due to the current practice of social distancing, we will have to postpone any plan to honor Deputy Howe with a party. We will update everyone as we go forward. So again, congratulations to Ron Howe. Okay, action discussion items. I'm sorry, public announcements. Tim, do you have any public announcements?
I do not.
All right. Ken?
Nope.
No? Jim?
No, I do not.
Okay. Kevin?
Nothing.
Okay. If you guys do have any, while we're still doing these, meetings, please, forward them to me. I'll get them to Nancy so she can get them. So she'll be prepared if we do have one, if anybody has any of those announcements. All right. So vote to approve action discussion items. 1, vote to approve minutes, March 25th, 2020, March 30th, 2020, April 6th, 2020, April 13th, 2020, April 22nd, 2020, and April 29th, 2020. Hopefully all of you picked up your packages. I picked up mine. I've read over most of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 25th as written.
I will second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
The minutes for March 30th are a little tough because there's a lot of, verbatim going back and forth. So there's a couple things in there that aren't exactly, maybe the intent's not right, but I don't see any major issues with them. But that was the interviews that we did with 3 of the 4 candidates. So it's just a little bit tough, to do these minutes, but I really don't see any serious concerns with it. So I will make a motion to approve the minutes of March 30th, 2020.
Ken, I'll make that motion, except I do want to make, I'm sorry, just a couple of announcements because on, if you have it, page 4 of March 30th, it was really Tim Chapin that was regarding the budget, what departments or line items under overfunded. Tim, wasn't that your question?
That was my question.
Okay, so I want to make, and I've talked to Nancy about this, so she'll amend that on the one on March 30th. That's the only thing that I saw. So
Tim Conley.
Yeah,
yeah,
We get
Not-
to
not-
it is.
Oh boy.
I finally got Tom to adopt me.
there you go.
Jeez.
Just for the inheritance, nothing else.
Yeah, yep. You can have it all, Tim.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, so I made again, I talked to Nancy, but she'll do that. So again, Ken, you want to put that in a motion on March 30th?
Yep, as amended.
All righty. Second?
Second it.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
aye.
Aye, okay. On the April 6th, it's the same thing. It is Tim Chapin. Again, it said the position is political, is not political. Tim, was that one of yours, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that should be Tim Chapin. And that's the only thing that I saw. I mean, reviewing most of these minutes, so. And again, I brought that to Nancy's attention. Nancy worked very hard on trying to get all of these minutes together for us, and I really do appreciate that, so. Any motion on the minutes for April 6th?
Yeah, mine, it's still on April 6th.
We're still on April 6th, yes, as far as I know.
Yeah, they got me down wrong.
Give me a page number, Jim,
H2.
page 2.
Yeah, it says Jim Conley, position not political. What steps will you take to integrate into community?
No, that's, yeah, right, I just said that. Tim, I'm sorry, did you miss me?
I must have missed
I
it.
said it was Tim, and Tim
Right.
said yes, right, Tim?
Yep.
Okay,
Right,
I'm all good.
Okay.
Make the motion so amended.
So amended,
I'll second.
all right. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. The April 13th, excuse me.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 13th as written.
Second.
Second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All righty. And the 29th.
29. Just a minute. What about the 22nd? Tom, did I go out of sequence or did we skip over the 22nd?
Hold on.
We just did the 13th, I thought, and we're on the 22nd.
Okay, so we're on the 22nd. Yep, that was my fault. My apologies. Losing track of my paperwork.
I'll make a
I
motion.
am to accept the minutes of April 22nd.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. 29th.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of the April 29th.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. All those were unanimous. Okay, next is, action item number 2, vote to approve the grant easement 441 Summer Street pursuant to vote taken under Article 12 of the May 22nd, 2017 annual town meeting. And that's a grant easement to Abington Investment LLC.
Tom, this was checked or written by town council, I'm assuming, KP Law?
I believe it was, yes.
Under.
I'll make a motion to approve this grant of easement.
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion on that?
Do we want to briefly, for people watching this on TV, explain just really briefly what it is?
I'll do the best with the grant, grant of the easement. The town of Abington, Massachusetts Municipal Corporation, acting by and through its Board of Selectmen, pursuant to vote taken Article 12, May 22nd, 2017 annual town meeting, having an address at 500 Glenridge Way, for consideration paid of $40,000, hereby conveys and grants to Abington Investment LLC, a Massachusetts limited liability company with an office address of 245 Central Street, Abington, Mass, and its successors and assigns with quitclaim covenants following easement along the westerly side of grantors' land situated at 441 Summer Street, Abington, Plymouth County, Mass, shown on Assessors Map 17 as Lot 21 and described in a deed to the town of Abington recorded with Plymouth Registry of Deeds in Book 3520, page 338. The town property follows.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, sorry.
we just
Who's
want to
talking?
say, it's for utilities to go in behind the senior center. So that that big project that Abington Investments wants to do, in the end, it's not going to affect anybody. It's not going to be any disturbance. They'll repair the property the way it is right now. But basically, to get to the utilities in from Summer Street into to the right, it's not going to bother the pickleball courts. In fact, they were talking about it might end up being an asset because it might be able to put a cart path to the right of the pickleball courts. But it should not affect Only when it's being done should affect anybody, but after that, you shouldn't even know it's there.
Right, and they want people to know too, Ken, I think, I think people had a issue with or a problem with when we were doing this, that they're not owning the road or anything. It's just the easement to get all that stuff done.
Right. It's not even a road. It's just put the utilities under the road.
Yep. So, okay, very good. I'm good with that. So Ken's vote to approve, second.
Yep, that was me second.
Okay. Okay, just one more time. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
No opposed. So that's unanimous.
You know if that'll be ready for us to sign tomorrow?
It's in
Ready
the
to sign
office.
now.
Okay, it's there now.
Yep, it's in the office.
I'll get there tomorrow.
Okay. Number 3 is appoint again Stephen Santasanio. I'm really probably not doing a good job with his name, as alternate delegate to Old Colony Planning Council. This is one that we're gonna well, if you want to do this, appoint him as alternate, and then they're going to put out to get a regular member onto the council, but they've got to advertise it. But we can appoint Stephen as the alternate delegate to the Old Planning Council. So I know we talked about this last time. Whether he whether they had put it out there, and they hadn't. So a letter has gone out with 2 weeks, giving people a chance to apply for a permanent position on that, or on the planning council, on the Old Colony Planning Council. Kevin, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Nope, you clarified it for me. I'll make a motion to appoint Stephen Santasanio as an alternate delegate in the Old Colony Planning Council.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? Ken, do you have a question or
I do. Can you tell by the look on my face? Is that how you knew I had a question, or what?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, this is why I hate. I can't stand these teleconferences, because you can see people's reaction, but I guess that happens at our regular meetings when we're in the public anyway. So.
I checked on the town's website, and it is listed. The vacancy for board. It's listed as a vacancy for an alternate delegate to the Old Colony Planning Council, but there's no listing for we've never had an alternate delegate. I don't think. It's always just been who's the board's delegate. So again, I'm confused. I mean, I have no problem doing his vote as an alternate, but we need to put on the town's website and publicize it that there's an opening for a delegate, not an alternate.
Right, and I think that is how they're going to put that out there. Ken, Nancy's going to put it out that way, that it's going to be for a delegate, and then people will apply. And Stephen is an alternate does not mean that he's going to become the permanent. Again, we'd have to vote on that in probably 2 weeks.
That's fine. I just it's good because it will probably get people coming out of the woodwork to want this position. So we want to make sure that.
Yep. Nope. And I appreciate that. So,
we've held over Stephen now for this is the second meeting. So let's let's vote and get him on as a alternate delegate and then deal with it from there. But the website, I mean, I think that we talked about it in length with, during the interview process. It needs to be updated. I think we'll have a better, moving forward, it'll be a lot better. So I echo what you're saying, Ken.
Yeah, I just want to vote. I want to vote for what's on the website. It is say alternate delegate, so I have no problem voting the alternate delegate.
Okay, so it's been seconded.
I'll make the motion if somebody already has it. Well, it's already been made and seconded, right? So.
Yes. Yep. So any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. All righty. The next item on the agenda was an item that Mr. Chapin wanted. Discuss forming subcommittees. And the reason I put committees, not just one, is in case there's any other subcommittees that anyone on the board may want to bring up. So I want to make sure that I had that on the agenda. So Tim, why don't you go over the subcommittee that you wanted, and then we'll go from there.
Well, briefly, last year before we decided to enter into a separation agreement with Mr. LaFond, we had talked about redoing the town manager review form. The one we use, even Rick agreed, was outdated and kind of didn't hit the right targets that we were looking for. So I was looking to maybe get a committee of 2 of us to work with Scott to form a new form for the why am I blanking here? What am I talking?
Process.
As you're on television.
Personnel evaluation or an evaluation
for the town manager evaluation. Obviously, it's something that I believe typically we used to do it in the summer. In the new contract, we put it in to do it right after the new year, I believe. So we have some time, but I think now could be a good time, and we could get 2 of us to bring in some thoughts, and Scott, whatever information you have from Duxbury or Whitman or maybe forms you've used in the past that have worked out. And I know I have forms that I've used in the past that have worked out. So put them all together and get a new form all set.
Yeah, no, it works for me.
Yep. I'm okay with that. I believe Ken and I are not going to be on any subcommittees. So Tim, you're volunteering. So either I would say Jim or Kevin. Is that all right, Ken? That's how I'm looking at it.
I'm fine with either way. I work well with Tim. If Jim wants to be on it, by all means. Jim, you tell
I
me.
think it's my turn. I ain't on a subcommittee yet. Kevin still is on one.
It's my turn.
Good luck.
Right, it's your turn. All right. So let's have Jim. Go ahead, Ken.
Kim, can I ask a question? And this may be off base, but why would you involve a current town manager in forms that are going to be reviewing the town manager's position? Unless I don't know, I'm just confused.
No, that's fine. It's a valid question. I've always found in my my real life, personal life of managing people, it's always best to have their input on their evaluation. If they don't buy into it, then the whole process it's not going to get what we want from it. We don't want to trick him and grade him on things. What we want to do is come up a form that we believe in, that he believes in, so we can work together.
Yeah, and I have a lot of I have some different standard forms. We've done different things over the years and modified some standard forms on how we did our evaluations, whether it was department heads. I don't know exactly what the town manager used. Probably wasn't much different. Because it's just industry standards on, HR standards on how you would go about doing that. So, I would just put my spin on it that way. But, I'd obviously.
Right. Ultimately, it's something we would bring back to the Board of Selectmen and we'd say, yes, we're going to go with this, or no, we're not, or adjust this, like we do with contract negotiations. But
so do you want this subcommittee to work every time there's a new town manager, or do you want to come up with a form that's going to work from now into infinity, or
until it's changed? Yes. This isn't a form that's going to be based on Scott. It's going to be based on the position of town manager.
And I know before Rick left, he gave us a sample of a form that I think the board really liked too. So I'll get that for you if you don't.
Yeah, thank you, because I know we had started working on this before, and I'd like to finish that up. And obviously, Scott, I don't want to hit you with this. We'll wait a couple weeks, let you get get the acclimation period down, and then there's no rush on this. But I just figured now's the time to start.
No, absolutely, and I'll reach out. Like I said, I'll reach out to some of my colleagues and some HR directors that I've worked with and ask them for some feedback too.
Excellent, thank you.
And Tim, I assume you're going to put in a pizza review tasting section in there.
No.
What?
It's for the town manager going. It's for the town manager going forward. Not just for Scott.
I
That's
can't
what he-
speak for the whole board, but I'm not going to hire a town manager that doesn't know how to make pizza anyway.
All right, okay.
You gotta set the bar somewhere.
I got to tell you, there's a lot of pressure on Scott to perform with this recipe. Crazy.
Yeah.
We're more concerned about the pizza than the town, it looks like, geez.
I'm gonna get Santapios to send me send me something in a plain box, please.
That's where the subcommittee was meeting. No,
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
the current review. I got on, I think, right after this, so I've never seen it. Can that be forwarded to me so I can take a look at it as well?
I don't think I have an electric copy, Kevin, but I can put a copy in your box at the town hall.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and we can also ask Nancy if she can get a copy up there. I'm sure she probably has it. If she I don't think that she'll mind. Kevin, go in and say hi to her, and grab your form. I think that'd be good. Are there any other? Does the board? Are they thinking about any other subcommittees just at this time? I know Tim wanted to get that on, and I did want to make sure that I covered it. But again, we've got the MRI subcommittee, correct?
Yep.
And this one to Tim. Is that it?
The only other subcommittee that we had formed was what Ken and myself a little while back about discussing with other towns. Ken, do you remember that?
Yeah.
Do we want to maybe see if we can do another round and see if anyone was interested?
I think now that Scott's from the other town, I might help out. So, Scott, we tried to get local other towns involved to purchase things together. To like perfect example, and there's rugby in Whitman is we combined veterans agents, and it's been working out really good, very well, I should say. We also talking about maybe by getting a town planner this year. I don't know if that's full-time or part-time. We talked about the animal control officer. We've got a great one now, and I'd hate to see him leave because he doesn't have full-time. So if you just that sort of stuff, sharing a street sander or whatever,
Didn't we make an attempt to share animal control, Whitman and Abington at one point?
I think so, yeah.
Wow.
I'm not positive how it worked out.
I mean, it's certainly something to look at. It's one of those positions. It's very difficult to find.
It didn't work out.
No, that's what I recall.
I want to congratulate Sue for saying something. That was very nice. I was open.
Sorry, I'm just in the background, but it really didn't work out.
Perfect.
Nor do I think the veterans Whitman thing is working out.
I don't know about that. I've heard good things about it, but
Well, it's just that Abington seems to not be getting serviced as well as Whitman. Everybody from Abington has to go to Whitman to get their services,
okay.
from what I see.
Well, I can certainly have a talk with Frank about that.
There you go.
Yep.
Sorry, my 2 cents.
That's all right. You're on TV, not a big deal.
Oh, I know, right?
So anything else, any other subcommittees or that anybody's thinking of? I just want to throw it out there because like I said, we have it on the agenda. So
Is there any interest on the board of doing like maybe not necessarily a subcommittee, but like a liaison to, each board members assign like a liaison to a department or anything like that?
I think that's Scott's job.
Actually, Scott, you bring that up, and Kevin brings that up. And it's my understanding, I know a couple of the selectmen over in Whitman, and my understanding is that each selectman sits in on contract negotiations. Is that true? Like one selectman will sit in with, they're not allowed to say anything, but they're able to bring back information to the entire board. Does that make sense? Or?
Well, when I was on the board, I sat in we were encouraged to speak our mind. But I mean, in general, during contract negotiations, management sort of, you don't really talk much. You leave it up to your attorneys and then you caucus, and that's when all your talking is actually done. But yeah, it is something that they do. But remember, they're under a town administrator form of government there. So there is a more active liaison role which, and I did that with police, fire. Obviously, we sat in with negotiations with the chiefs on their contracts and stuff, and I did that. But, again, I would probably defer to John Clifford before we would to do something like that. Only because sometimes it's just intimidating too. If in fact, at the end of the day, we're still going to bring everything back to you to have the other person to have a selectman in the room, if they aren't, if they're not the ones who are actually signing or approving or finishing the agreement, it might not make sense. But again, I would say we should talk to John Clifford and see what his preference is on that kind of thing.
A couple other things, Mr. Chairman. I think there's a charter and bylaw review. Isn't that due every 5 years? And it sounds to me like it might be close to being time for that too. And I don't know.
I hope it is.
Yeah, I know. I'm assuming, I figured you were going to be joining it as soon as you get off the Board of Selectmen. But
I hope I can.
absolutely. They might, the next board might not like us, but that's fine. But I mean, that's something that I don't know if it required a member of the selectmen to be on it, but I just, I want to keep the board informed of that. I actually have a request of this board and the next board. I am currently the liaison, the Board of Selectmen's representative to the Abington Summer Concerts Committee. I'd like to stay on even if I'm not a selectman, if that's okay with the board, but you guys can talk about it. But I've been doing it for probably 9 years now, and I enjoy helping out. God knows what's going to happen with the summer concerts this year, but it's just,
No, I think that's something they'll take under consideration. I hope the Board of Selectmen, the new board that start the 23rd, will keep that under consideration. So I would certainly appreciate you being on it, Ken. So.
All I got.
Anything else on that? Just on that, committees or anything? Y'all look thrilled. I'm going to keep you till 9 o'clock. So. No plans, right? Kidding. All right, if nothing on that, last thing I have on is discuss town meeting and budget. And Sean, I still haven't heard, I've heard a little bit from Sean Riley, the town moderator. But again, nothing that I know has been finalized or brought up with, I haven't heard from Leanne or, like I said, Sean. Scott, I know you just started today. You didn't talk to Sean at all, did you?
Actually, just a quick email near the end of the day. We're going to chat tomorrow.
Okay, and was that about town meeting?
Yep.
Sue,
yeah, pretty much about everything.
Sue, don't raise your hand. I don't know if you're waving or just.
I got something to say.
Okay.
Okay, so we have elections on the 23rd of June, and the suggestion from town council was to have town meeting on the 22nd. So you guys are really putting a lot of pressure on the on the town clerk's office to have two major things happening in 1 week. So I hope that you guys could consider that, even though council said they want it on the 22nd, the registrar has postponed the elections to the 23rd to have two things that major in her aspect of work not be back to back on one day to the other. Maybe one in the beginning of the month and one at the end, or if you do elections at the end and the state has allowed us to postpone budget meetings or town meetings until August or whatever, not to put that much pressure on one department in 2 days.
Mr. Chairman, I'll actually take the blame for that, because we did mention the 29th and the 22nd as possible dates for town meeting. And I said, well, it seems foolish to have it the 29th. That's 4th of July week, so
right. Yeah.
I didn't even give any thought. I didn't even give any thought to it. Yeah, it makes perfect sense not to have it on the 22nd.
They're still pretty close. A week away from each other is still pretty close for the kind of things that she has to prepare for.
I don't think any of us even thought about that.
Right, and I think part of it too, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, is we found out that would be when town council might or was available. Correct? Those are the dates that.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. So, and we haven't voted on anything yet. So, and that'll be as far as I'm concerned, or correct me if I'm wrong, but, you know, in conjunction with the, with Leanne and with Sean, you know, it's our decision when we have it. Am I correct?
Absolutely. I just
Yeah,
want,
I
like
thought so.
council said that they want like a sort of go-to date so they can put in their their calendars. But I just want you guys to all be aware that the work that she needs to put in to get both of those things done in a period of time, and even a week's period of time is a lot. You know, it should be at least 30 days difference.
Yeah, well, Sue, it's not on, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I
No, that's
usually do
okay.
that. It's not only, you know, what the work that she has to do, but also we have to decide, you know, and I don't think we've done this yet, is actually where it's going to be, and how it's going to be conducted. I mean, you know, we're going to be out in a football field and, you know, have everybody 6 feet apart and have, you know, we don't know if they're changing the quorum. So this is still such a thing to be, you know, so much more discussion. And I really think that our next meeting, and maybe we'll have one before that, because we usually do 2 weeks, is we've got to get, excuse me, not that the Leanne has to be there or whatever, or Sean, but I think Sean anyway, to get a meeting to, you know, where we're going to go and what's happening with the quorum, and, you know, we're going to be able to lower it. And I know Sean will be watching this, and he'll probably text me and let me know. And if I miss something, Sean, I apologize. So, but anyway, there's a lot of stuff to do. And Sue, just remind me, or one of the selectmen remind me, our election's going to be still at Emerald Hall, right? Am I correct?
That's correct.
That is correct, because I thought Marty.
That's why they moved it to Tuesday.
Huh?
That's why they moved it to Tuesday, so they could do it at Emerald Hall.
Right, but Marty, I saw him today, and I think he thought it was something like at the school, and I told him I said I'm 99% sure it's not. I never say 100, but you know, 99% it's not at the school, which I think he was happy about. So, but I had to let him know about that today. So,
well, Mr. Chairman, generally isn't the town meeting a couple weeks after the town election, anyways?
it usually is,
Yes,
but Ken, if you don't, and Scott, you can probably weigh in on this if you don't mind. If we do it, you know, after July 1st, you're on a one. I think you end up being on a 1/12 budget. Scott, correct me if I'm wrong. And that 1/12 budget is based on 2020's.
They would set it at last year's budget numbers, right?
You know, so we have to be aware of that too. I think anyway. So.
Yeah, you know, like I said, I'll talk to Sean tomorrow. But I mean, they're valid points. We're running out of time. I spoke briefly with Allison Sullivan today. I think the House was taking up the bill that was going to, you know, deal with the quorum rule and things like that. So where that's going and how long it'll be before they come to some sort of an agreement on it and actually gets signed by the governor. You know, hopefully it's sooner than later. So, you know, we'll just keep following it. But yeah, I mean, the preference to me would be to get this done before July.
This is 8 days after the election.
Yeah. It sounds like there's so many moving parts. Not even talking about the stay-at-home orders and everything else. I mean, before you even talk about those, still, you know, where's it going to be? Where, you know, so, you know, can you host it in June online and then just vote to delay it to July or August? There's just so many questions that, you know, that we can't really set a date now. You know?
Right, and I really don't want the board to until we have all that information. And part of it is, like Scott said, talking to Allison, you know, in the Senate, and what they're going to do for the quorum. I mean, one of the towns out there has already, I think, filed a suit in Superior Court about reducing their quorum, and you know, there is a lot going on, I think, and you know, going from there. But So we're not going to vote on that tonight anyway, but I wanted to bring it up in discussion. But I know, again, Scott started today, but I know that Scott has been looking, I shouldn't say this. I'm pretty sure he's been looking at the budget. And I don't know any recommendations that the, previous town manager has made or anything like that. And I know he's seen the last couple of meetings, I think. So, Scott, any input, and this isn't to pressure you, just any input on the, just the budget right now, or where you plan to go looking at it and talking to departments or something like that. So,
Yeah, for the most part, I tend to spend some time with Sue going over the budget. I talked to her briefly about it today. There were some recommendations or some questions from the finance committee last week that they wanted to get impact statements from department heads. What would a reduced budget do to services and how it would affect them. So Sue is going to reach out to them and try and get that taken, get them to get back to us on that. I think, what you have there now, like I said, I think Sue can answer the actual numbers better than I can, but going forward with what you have might be your best option. And when we know what the cuts are, we'll look at what you intended to have for, putting into different stabilizations or capital plans or stuff like that. Obviously, then we'll have to go back to the impact statements that we're going to get from the departments and see what we can do there. But Sue, I don't know if you want to, this be a good time to tell me what your thoughts are, tell everybody.
Yeah. Okay, so it is of my opinion, we go with what the information that we have now and talk to the departments about where they may or may not have room to move. And hopefully going forward, the information that we have now is going to be good, and we're going to be able to get the federal and the state aid that we need. And we can keep our departments whole. But as the finance committee was talking about a couple of weeks ago, and making a 10% cut across the board or a 20% cut across the board, you really can't do that per department, because you're going to kill a town clerk's office or a treasurer's office or even my office with a 10 or 20% cut, but you might not have that kind of effect on the bigger departments. So my thought is continue with what we know, and when things change, let's make those changes as they come. But in the meantime, speak to those departments that we need to speak to say, if this happens, where do we need to be, or where do you need to be to make things happen?
So I heard you say based on what we know. And what we know, hold on, what we know would be based on the governor's budget that I don't think he's even changed yet, has he, for 21?
Based on what we know on the governor's budget and what we have for estimated receipts from 2 years ago, because we never base our estimated receipts on what we have now, because we don't know what we have.
Right.
Because it obviously certain things fall behind. We're getting motor vehicle excise later in the year. So we base our estimated receipts on 2 years ago. So based on what we know that the governor has voted right now, that there's the Prop 2.5 and what our local receipts were 2 years ago, and go with what we have. And we have a balanced budget at this point. We've been working with the school department, and we were about almost $400,000 at a deficit. And we worked with the school department to close that, and we did. The finance committee is aware of it. And so based on what we have a balanced budget going into 2021. But if things change, obviously we need to have conversation to say if things change.
It would be pretty difficult to throw a number at it if we wanted to just decide to make reductions.
Right. You can't
we
just
don't know what those reductions would be.
Right. We're going to just reduce the budget by 10% or 20%, which somebody on the finance committee said. And I was like, 20% is huge. So how can we cut 20% if we don't even know that that's what it is?
So yeah, 20% reduction means that's a much higher reduction to larger departments. It'll be more than 20% on DPW, more than 20% on police and fire, because a 20% reduction on a lot of the departments would be meaningless.
Well, 20%
Comparatively.
reduction on, I'm just using my department because I don't want to pick on anybody else, but 20% reduction on my department would basically mean I'm losing my staff. So it's
But that
like,
gain from it wouldn't be significant as it would,
right. So the conversation needs to be there, but it shouldn't be something that's presented as this is what we're going forward with.
And do we have any idea, Scott or Sue, when the governor is going to make any of his adjustments? And then, and if not, that's going to be a problem.
Right. And
that's going to be a major problem.
Usually we get an email that says, "Oh, here's the governors, here's the next one," and it like right down the line. There's 4 steps to go through the whole thing, but we don't know until we get an email that says, "Here's your new numbers."
Right, and because the governor gives his numbers, then you got the Senate. They got to do their,
right. Right.
And agree. Or so. I mean, this is as you a selectman, and hopefully you understand that this could be very, very serious. And we're only talking about the town of Abington, and he's he'll be making reductions on the whole state.
No, it will be serious, but the problem that we have by not knowing doesn't give us the ability to do much more than what we're doing.
Right.
If we just randomly decided to start making cuts somewhere, it wouldn't make sense. Our best bet is to be conservative, and it sounds to me like they've been very conservative. They're using budget numbers for, and revenue numbers from 2 years ago, and I'm guessing you're somewhere around 80% on that. That's given us some room, and because the revenue's definitely not going to be what it was this year. What's going to happen with state aid's anybody's guess.
Right.
We have gotten some federal and state aid to help with the expenses that we've had to have over the last couple of months. We haven't applied it to that state aid at this point because it's hard to say, like, do you want to take this money and put it here, or do you want to wait and see if there's something major coming, that might come on that we need that money for? What expenses are important to put towards that state and federal aid that we've gotten, but we have gotten close to $20,000 worth of federal aid, and we've gotten about $14,000 in state aid. But the state part is directly for the Board of Health and administrative staff and things that they need to do in there. And the federal aid is for things that we didn't expect to spend money on, that we have had to spend money on. But it's sitting there so that the decision makers can decide what expenses in my folder can be applied to that, including, as Tom, we were talking about today, plastic windows for all of the offices. So what should that money be applied to?
Yeah, it's a lot of tough decisions coming up. Ken, when are we done? Sorry, I gotta add a little humor.
Hey, wait, it's not Ken, when are we done? It's Scott, when do you begin?
Scott began today, so.
So when do you make those decisions?
Yeah, wow. But I and I brought it up because I just want to make sure that people are aware of it, and the position that I'm in, I'm able to see the governor's budgets and the effect it has on school districts and towns and stuff like that. But than the Senate vote, and I mean, it gets to be a little bit crazy. So, but I don't want anybody to be surprised, especially not us, and especially the department heads are aware of it. I mean, FinCom's working diligently to try and get stuff done, and give them a lot of credit. There's a lot of work, but we still don't know where we are. So
Well, hopefully we'll have some better answers going forward.
tomorrow, did you say tomorrow?
I'll have more answers tomorrow, but not necessarily better.
Just kidding. I need to keep this a little light, I think, every once in a while, but
Well, that's it.
I don't know. There's four of you. Any comments you want to, make certainly, or questions that you want to ask, please do. And we've got to decide the next meeting and things like that. Do we want to go 2 weeks again, or I really think we should, because of my opinion, the position that we're in. I think we should be going weekly until
I agree.
after the election anyway. So
May 11th.
Next
I'm
Monday,
good with that.
I'm good with that.
Ken, you okay with that?
Yeah, the Monday after that's the holiday, though, right? So you might, isn't it?
The 24th is a holiday, or
I'm behind. Okay,
I'm trying to think.
Split up.
I got the wrong week. So, yep, 11th.
25th.
We could, right, and we don't have to meet on a Monday. We can meet on a Tuesday, or right, whatever. So Scott, the 11th, okay with you?
Whatever you guys want. I'm here for you.
All right. Tim, you all set with the 11th?
I'm good with the 11th. Thank you.
All right, I'm all set with it. So, thumbs up. What, you don't have it on your screen? You don't have thumbs up? Tim does. Tim's going to show us thumbs up. There you go. Oh, wave. Yep, there you go. So, any other questions really for Scott or for Sue? On the budget, or anything else before we? I mean, I don't mind ending the meeting, but just before we end, or Scott, if you have anything that.
No, the only thing I guess is maybe with a lot of the questions that we had, I don't know if we want to invite the town clerk to our next meeting, or ask her if she'd be interested in chiming in on this at all with you
She may
guys.
be more comfortable doing that by email.
Who, Leanne?
Yeah, she's done that in the past.
Yeah, she had, and we don't mind. I mean, is she? And I know she'll probably. I'm assuming she might be watching this, but if not, when they replay it, she can watch it. And I don't mind if she responds in an email or something like that instead of being on television. Sean Riley, I think he gets too much television, but we'll invite him.
Obviously I'll be talking with him tomorrow, and I'll talk with Leanne and try and convey some of your concerns and some of your thoughts, and Sue will, obviously do the same, and on the points that she brought up. So we'll try and narrow down some better target dates, or some realistic target dates. I don't think we're going to be able to do any better on what we know for budget numbers anytime in the near future. I really doubt it. I'll put it out there to whoever we can up in the state, and Allison, and I can reach out to Josh Cutler and a few others. But I just don't think we're going to get any answers from them in time for us to do anything.
Right.
I think we're going to be on our heels, and I think it's going to be like, as Sue said, is we're going to have to look at what we have, use it, and then we're going to deal with it when the time comes, and everybody knows it.
Right. One of the things too, before we leave, that I wanted to mention, everyone, Kevin, you with us? Don't you on TV? You're driving me crazy. Sorry. You got everyone got Rick the transition document that he put together,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Major update.
So I think that, Scott, at the next meeting, because I didn't have it on the agenda, that we certainly put that on for discussion if there is any discussions, and because I didn't have it on the agenda, but I'll make sure that I let Nancy know that I want that on the agenda for the next meeting for the 11th. Because I think some of the stuff that we have to go over, if we're not going to be able to do anything with the budgets or whatever right now, I think going over that transition letter will be beneficial to us and to the town, I think so.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, Tom, I did want to touch on that real quick, that the outgoing town manager did leave us a very detailed update that you're referring to. I mean, it's 23 different items that he talked about. But one of the items, maybe Scott, maybe you can help me here. It was Rick LaFawn's intent to provide the finance committee with a budget scenario based upon a 10% reduction in state aid and local receipts. You just want to wait on that, right, until we get some clearer numbers? Is that Mike?
Well, that's what someone I had mentioned is, and I think that's just the same thing, is the finance committee was sort of looking for that across the board. And what we're going to do is reach out to the individual department and department heads and say, if in fact it was an across the board and your department was cut 10%, what is the impact on your department? I don't think that they really want more than that. At least that's a good starting point for us. To just take the budget and lop 10% off. I mean, obviously we could run the spreadsheet and do it.
I know we have a history, and Rick kind of led the charge, but we've had very conservative budgets. Very slow growth, nothing major. We haven't had to do any layoffs since I can't remember when. That was an asset that that was a great job that he did, and the board followed his lead. The finance committee followed his lead. Town meeting followed his lead. We also were able to squirrel some money away into our stabilization fund, which obviously is the rainy day fund. So, it could be a case where it's raining and it's pouring. We have to use some of those funds, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if there ever was a need or a reason or why you have a rainy day fund, this is it. Problem is the rainy day is probably not just a 1 or 2 budget cycle rainy day. This is probably going to be something that we may feel the effects of for 2 or 3 town meetings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anyone else? All set. So, Scott, like I said, I'll talk to Nancy, and I really want to try and go over that transition letter.
Yeah.
As much as we can anyway, much that we should know and much as the public should know. So, I don't have anything else. Sue, anything?
No, I just know that he put everything in that transition letter that you guys need to know.
There you go. All right, I'll entertain a motion. It's not 9 o'clock yet, but.
Mr. Chairman, can I bring up one more thing?
Yes, Ken. Good for you.
Come on.
Yes, love it.
If these were normal times, I would ask us to go over our goals and objectives and tidy them up and then give them to our new town manager. However, there's more important priorities right now. But I just wanted to make sure that the board's aware that they should probably, because obviously the goal and the objectives now are to get through town meeting and to survive this pandemic. But in normal times, and as soon as this is, dies down, you want the board to be prepared. I'm talking to the chairman who's not going to be here either, but board members, you want to make sure that Scott has some clear objectives that the board votes on. You probably wait till the new board comes in, and maybe that should be one of the first things they do, because that's really important. That I think we did the last town manager a disservice by not really being very clear sometimes on the Scott. We didn't do them every year or every 6 months. We were kind of haphazard in that. So that's all I have.
Yep. No, that's good. You sure, Ken?
I can come up with more if you want, but
no, I know you can. I'm sort of like, I
Make
wanna
a
do
motion to
this, but-
adjourn.
No,
A second.
I've got a cream ice cream waiting for
We
me.
go, 1 and 2.
Earl Sunday, so I'm all set.
Hey, I could too, but you know, I'm just in the background.
All right, so motion to adjourn,
Yep,
Second.
made and seconded.
made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Be safe, everyone, please. And residents, maybe we'll have a soft opening on the 18th. No guarantees, though.
Yeah.
Nice.
But let's hope. All right, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Hold on.